everybody. Welcome to Commercial Dance Intensive's Industry Interviews with Sissa Strain. We will be joined shortly by Liana Blackburn, Daily Dancer Diet. So excited. Hi! Hi, Liana. Welcome.
Hi, you look glamorous.
Any excuse today.
I'm here for it.
How are you, beautiful?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. You've been so busy. It's awesome to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you. Liana, would you like to start us off with a little bit of, tell us a bit about your backstory, where you're from, maybe your training that led to your professional career, and where you are now?
Sure. So my name is Liana. I grew up in Florida and I started at a dance studio when I was 3 years old and did dance studio training in all the traditional styles from the age of 3 to 17. And some of my teachers there at my home studio had lived in LA before. So they already started exposing me to the commercial side of what dance could be. I was never really introduced to the theatrical side of it at a younger age. I was more exposed to the commercial idea, TV, film, recording artists. So that was something I always was super interested in. I also loved hip hop. That was my favorite style. And I wasn't allowed to do hip hop at my studio without doing ballet. So at first I was forced to do it. I was like, ballet. But I was actually pretty naturally graceful and it came well, like not easy to me. Ballet doesn't come easy to me, but it really was a natural thing. So I did grow to enjoy that a lot. And when I graduated at 17, I went straight to LA and auditioned for the Edge Scholarship Program, which is, a 1-year professional program. So I did that. And then when I graduated from that program in 2005, I got an agent because that's one of the major points of the education program is there's a live show that happens at the end and all the agencies are there, choreographers are there to expose you to them. And then I got an agent and then I started auditioning and I've been dancing, living in LA, working since 2005.
That's incredible. I love that. That's so exciting. So you're coming to us live today from California, right?
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. I just can't tell you how excited we are to learn more about you and to share kind of your wisdom and experience with the next generation of dancers. So are you ready to get started with our official industry interview questions?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So our first question, Liana, is how did you book your first job? And do you remember how you felt when you found out you booked it?
Honestly, thankfully in my career, I've actually had a lot of jobs that have been long-term contracts, which is pretty rare for the dance industry to have a consistent career of long jobs, in the commercial world at least. And I more so remember my first time I booked a job that allowed me to quit all my side jobs. But I did work a lot of small jobs before that job. And I can't really remember how I felt. Like I did book a small tour with this Latin artist named Cello. That was like my first gig that I was like the young buck and all the dancers had been working and I was really quiet and just like learning from everyone. And it was the first time I got to dance with a recording artist and travel. And we went to Puerto Rico and Miami. And I got to do like live performances at like music festivals, which was so fun. I don't really remember that audition, but I know that I auditioned for it. I know that my agency like fought for me because my agency knew that I was a real funky chick, but like my demeanor, as you can see, like I'm very like vintagey, like I don't have that type of funky vibe to me. Like you would think I would move like that. So a lot of people didn't assume I could move like that, but this was a hip hop job.
Uh-huh.
And my agent like pushed to get me to go, I remember, because she knew that I could do that. So I went to that audition, and I remember like the choreographer being really surprised by my skill set. Like, wow, this white girl really gets down. And I was really excited about that, because to be honest, that's one of the most like that whole job I was wearing sneakers the whole time. And there's not many other jobs that I've done in my whole career that I've worn sneakers the whole time. So it felt really good.
That is so cool. And I think one of my favorite things about you is that you are such a chameleon, and you can adapt. And, you know, looking at your resume and your career, it's like there's some similar items, obviously, because like once you hit an industry in one direction, you can get booked again with similar people. But you have such a cool chameleon effect about how you can adapt to the jobs. And I think that is a testament to how you work so much, other than the fact that you're a joy to work with.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Okay, so my second question for you is, what is something in your career that surprised you?
To be honest, being seen as the female like embodiment, a more feminine embodiment, a more like being the girl behind a male artist, being the show girl, being the girl in heels, that really surprised me that people saw that within me. Because like I said, I thought I was going to move out to LA and like be the token white girl in the Missy video. Like I thought I was going to be, that's where the trajectory of my career was going to go. And very quickly I realized that's not how people saw me. That's not how people were interested in having me a part of the industry. And it didn't feel like me at first, because it just, I didn't even own a pair of skinny jeans till I was 21. Like I was a tomboy. And I just didn't have a pair of heels. Like I never trained in heels. So for people that know me now, they're like, wait, like I even see Callie's writing right now. She's like, I'm shook, because there's dancers that just know me for body language, that know me for like being this very like feminine, empowered dancer. And that wasn't, I always was free. I was always free sexually, and I was always like very comfortable in my body and expressing myself. But when it came to like my personality, like I wasn't like that. So I'll never forget, Sean Evaristo booked me to be the only, I know. Oh my God, I know. And this was like years ago. He booked me to be the one female love interest behind a male artist. And I was shocked. I was shocked that I was seen as this like the love interest. I just didn't see myself in that type of way. And then Marguerite Derricks booked me to be like a showgirl in Vegas, in like a movie that was like placed in Vegas. I was like, what is happening? And then so that led to where I am now. And it's interesting, because I think a lot of times when we're younger, we feel like we know ourselves so well, and sometimes we can block out any other directions that other people might see us in. And I'm always very like strongly behind the idea of like follow your path, like follow your authenticity. But sometimes there's parts of you that are hidden, that takes someone else to see it within you, to really discover that is part of your power. And that's what happened to me. So that has led me down a whole new path that I never would have expected to happen.
I think that's so cool to be open and aware. And talking to other people through these industry interviews, a lot of people are using the term like to be available, like mentally and emotionally open to what comes your way. Because you're right, like there are so many things that we see in each other as artists, or like mentors or casting directors and choreographers, that you may not even know about yourself. And it's incredible to hear about your journey to discover your path and your open place in this whole industry. It's so cool. This brings me to my next question, actually.
Yes.
Ready?
Let's hear it.
If you could go back in time and give advice to your 15-year-old self, what would you say and why?
So honestly, whenever I get this question about going back to my younger self and giving her advice, I actually would like my 15-year-old self to come to me and give me advice. I say that because when I was younger, I really didn't have the inhibitions and worries that I do now. I was I was really free as a child. I was really like, of course, with school, there was insecurities with school and with social settings. And of course there was like, what I really didn't like about myself was my freckles. So if anything, the things that I didn't like about myself is what my older self would give advice to my younger self now, of letting her know, like, everything about you that you feel is different, everything about you that you feel you don't see surrounding you by other people is your power, is your strength, is what makes you who you are, and is what separates you and the path, the life you're gonna live. And it's gonna help you. It's gonna help you become the person that you want to be. And without that adversity, or without that struggle, without that pain, without that conflict, you really wouldn't become the strength of a woman that you're gonna become. So I'm excited that you're having these difficulties. Like, I'm excited for you. Pain is good. Like, build resiliency, build to the adversity. Like, not telling her to avoid pain and that you don't want to ever have pain, but be like, I'm excited for you because this is going to pass, and then it's going to become so purposeful.
I love that. We have a question actually from our audience. How did your morning mantras routine begin?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, this is actually a great perspective on social media, because I give lots of talks and lots of conversations to people about shifting their perspective on how they use social media. And my morning mantra is a perfect example of that, because I really believe in the power of community. And I believe that with social media, I can grow a community that's global that I would never have been able to have access to if I just were to be around my local environment. So I've wanted to really make sure that I found a way to be very authentic to myself while sharing myself on social media. So I also, a few years ago kept hearing this, like, you have to do it consistently. If you want to keep up with the algorithm, or you want to do this, you have to post all the time. And I didn't feel this innate desire to post all the time. But when stories came about, I actually loved Instagram stories. I loved that they didn't last very long. I loved that you could be playful with them and there wasn't this like pressure of living online forever. And I was like, well, what can I share with people all the time that will benefit me? Not only just to do it for them, but will benefit me. And I realized that I was already doing daily gratitude practices, daily I am affirmations. I was already doing this in my practice. So why don't I share with people what I'm already doing? And then I also realized, if I don't share that every day with Instagram, it probably meant that I didn't do that for myself, which means I have loss there. I have personal loss. Instead of, oh, I'm posting for everyone else, I'm posting to stay relevant, I'm posting to show off. When I'm posting my mantras and everything else, I'm actually just showing up to my own life first, and then I'm sharing what I'm showing up with in my life, instead of just sharing things for other people. And then it became something that people really, really resonated with and people really look forward to. And I get comments every day about how a mantra has affected them or helped them or encouraged them, inspired them. So that then creates a positive pressure on me to keep going with it, knowing that there's positive impact on the world.
It's incredible how once we take something and share it, it becomes exponential. It's the beauty, right? The social media, because it can be, both sides of the page, right? Because there is a lot of pressure that comes about from it. And I love that you're talking about social media so freely, because we use it so much in our industry and we talk about it all the time. And I think that your platform on your Instagram has been one of the most influential ones that I personally follow. And I just personally love it.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Okay, so my next question for you, what is one style or skill you wish that you had trained in before you became a professional?
I was I'm not going to say style. I'm going to move to the word skill. And when I say skill, I want to just be very specific on my freedom of expression. You might think of the word freestyle. It's just my choice of personal movement. That wasn't something that I was brought up to encourage. So it wasn't like I did freestyle exercises all the time in growing up. So when I first came out to like this audition world and was asked to freestyle, and freestyle was being used as like a skill, I would crumble under the pressure at the beginning of like looking around and being like, what are other people doing to stand out? And then like was trying to learn from other people instead of freestyle being like learn myself and learn like what my point of view is, and not just try to be the one that stands out in the room based on what I see, but know how to bring the human out of me and make sure that the human in me stands out, or the person of me, or not just my skill set. So I would like to have understood freestyle at a younger age. Now I feel very grounded in my freestyle, but it wasn't something that was encouraged or even really understood when I was younger.
Absolutely. And I agree with you so much, because I came from a studio that I grew up from age 3 as well. And in the model of a studio or a conservatory, you know, we're taught to fall in line and get our technique and be very regimented about where everything is, where your eyebrow is, where your pinky finger is, and, you know, you're in line. And then unless you had a solo, which weren't as common for younger dancers to have.
I never had a solo.
Nowadays, like, you know, 4-year-olds have solo and they're amazing and they're getting really confident really early on, and I love it. But, you know, like you're saying, you didn't have a solo during your, you know, training at a studio, and I didn't have them until much later. And then I was like, oh, how do I handle my personal expression on stage when I'm by myself? And that kind of exploration, I totally understand what you're talking about, because that freestyle, that freedom to be you is not necessarily part of training in a lot of studio settings. And I wonder, you know, do you work on that at your body language intensives?
Oh yes, that is a huge part of it. I mean, the whole premise around why the body language experience is so dear to my heart is because it's about discovering the authentic you, who you really are outside of dance. And you have to know who you are before you know what to share when you dance. And a lot of times we use dance as a cover. Like, I'm not really sure, but I feel really good at this, so I'm just gonna like put this on for a second because I can do it. But we don't know how to show up to our skill, or we hide behind our skill. So the whole thing is like, who are we without dance? That's what we work on in my intensive. Like, dance can't be our definition. It's just a mode of communication. But we have to know who we are to know what we're saying behind our moves. So there's so much, like, yes, freestyle is definitely something we work on, because most of us now in the industry are trained to freestyle as just being something that sets you apart from the crowd. But I like to remind dancers that it's not the way you look, it's not the tricks you do, it's not the clothes you wear that keeps you apart or helps you stand out. It's who you are that naturally makes you stand out, because nobody is you, nobody has your point of view, nobody has the exact life that you've lived. And the more you tap into your authenticity, the more you will naturally stand out, because your differences are there. And a lot of times when we try to stand out, we actually end up duplicating someone else. we look at someone else that stands out, and then we start to look like someone else. So I also feel like when we focus on our differences, it also pushes community apart. It pushes humanity. And I want to be connected with someone who's like me. So I like to connect with people and actually find similarities before just trying to be like, I'm the best, stand away, I'm better than all of you. I'd rather connect first on a human level and just naturally stand out because I'm so in tune with who I am.
Absolutely. And I think that you give off such an energy of like celebrating one another that is very infectious. When you, for example, like when you were teaching for us at Commercial Dance Intensive, you said this phrase that was, it just resonated so much.
Tell me what I say.
It's your clarity is
confidence,
and commitment is
sexy.
I just love it so much. And I literally, because you were teaching and I was, you know, doing other work, and when you said it, I just was like, and it struck me. And it's that kind of, you know, and that energy that you bring, and you are just so smart as well, and you are great at communication, and it really does make a difference in your artistry. And from a teaching's perspective, because I haven't been able to see you like perform live, but when you are teaching, it feels so present, and it feels just, you know, as exciting as I think it might be to see you perform, you know, with an artist or in a show or something like that.
Thank you. I definitely feel as alive teaching as I did dancing on stage for thousands of people. So I love that. Thank you. It means so much.
We're so lucky to have you at CDI. Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful. It's such an amazing program.
We like it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay, so someone asked, can you talk about the name Daily Dancer Diet and how that came into your artistic presence, I think was the question.
Yeah, so I made a huge lifestyle change in 2011, 12. I grew up eating fast food. I grew up eating Taco Bell. I grew up eating no vegetables. I grew up only drinking soda. I did not drink water. I would have a chocolate chip muffin for breakfast, goldfish for snacks at school, French fries for lunch, maybe stop at Taco Bell on the way to the dance studio, get like a soft taco with just melted cheese in it. I mean, I had very poor eating habits growing up, but I didn't have any issues that I could see with my body telling me that what I was doing was a problem. I was still dancing great. I was still performing great. You know, it wasn't like I was getting sick all the time. I did get sick a little bit, but I couldn't put those pieces together. So in 2010, 11, I had a massive like slap in the face of the lifestyle I was living, not working for me anymore. And I had a lot of health things come up, and that forced me to look in the mirror and look at my reflection and actually look at not only like, oh, what pills can I get to fix what's happening with my body right now? What can I do to put a Band-Aid on this problem? But I had good enough friends that had already been invested in the holistic approach to healing that they were already like giving me more information that I had access to otherwise, and letting me know like, maybe if you take a look at the way you've been living, the way you've been eating, like maybe there's a lot you could actually do to change to heal your body. So in 2012, 11, like in 2011, I started a complete lifestyle shift and shifted into all like unprocessed food. I got rid of any over-the-counter medicines. I got rid of my birth control. Like I just went as clean as I could, and a lot of new things popped up that were being suppressed by the medications I was on and just the way I was. So it brought me into a whole new light of purpose in my life. And so when that happens, the people that you're surrounded by are constantly asking you questions. Why did you change all of a sudden? What brought this on? And a lot of times with food, people get really defensive. People get like, are you trying to lose weight? Are you having eating? Like, is something wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this? And people would question me all the time as to what I was doing and why. And even they got excited, like, what food is that? I've never seen that. What are you eating? What did you do? Like, people would just ask me so many questions. And this is at the time when Instagram was popping, but I had a dance account and that was my main focus. And I decided, like, why don't I make an Instagram account to help people answer all the questions that they have that I'm constantly getting, gives people like a place to go that just had like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm eating, like look at recipes and stuff like that. So that's how it began. And my husband and I love like play on words and alliteration. So Daily Dancer Diet just rolled so well off the tongue. And even though the word diet can have a negative connotation, I wanted to also shift people's perspective that diet is actually just your lifestyle. Your diet is what you do every day. You don't have to go on a diet. I have a daily diet. This is what I do daily. So I also wanted to shift that perspective and also shed light on the fact that a lot of dancers don't have a great diet. And that the outside world might think like, oh, dancers, their body's so great. How do you do what you do? And then when you really hear how dancers keep their body, you're like, oh, how is that sustainable? And that's how I was. It wasn't sustainable for me for 23 years. So I hit a roadblock and now I'm like, this is my new Daily Dancer diet. This is how I can eat before a show. I can have a full meal before a show. I can eat all day when I'm going to wear spandex at night and I can still feel great. My body can still be good if I know what is right to eat for my body.
I feel a lot of similarities to what you were talking about, especially growing up, because the lifestyle of a young dancer is so go, 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 go. And, you know, I didn't have a nutrition class until I was in college. And you're thinking like, oh, I wonder why I'm so tired all the time, or my stamina is not there, skin, you know, muscular health and, you know, injury prevention, all of these things are so tied into your health and what you put into your body and how you take care of it. And I think that your Instagram is such a great resource because when you would be posting things, for example, you did something when you were judging and you showed like what you packed. And I was inspired by that because I'm judging too. And so I was like, oh, what are these like bags you're using? And how can you be kind of smart? And it's kind of like a fun challenge, you know, to set yourself up for success, especially when you're inspired by someone who's doing what you want to be doing. And it makes it more accessible because you're sharing these ideas, these tips and tricks. And it's just really wonderful that you share that. And that I feel like, does it also inspire you to do it even more because you get that positive feedback about, oh, great lifestyle choices. And like, thank you, you changed my life. And
oh yeah, it's definitely a great reminder to stay on track. And I know that some people can think about like, oh, pressure is just bad, but I think it as being really a positive influence. Like I love the idea of being a living example. And I've also never said that I'm perfect. I've never said that I have this figured out. I've never said that I know exactly what I'm doing. It's always a constant experiment. And so whenever I give myself that like voice to say like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just trying and I'm just sharing my experiment, it relieves the pressure of me going like, oh, if I were gonna go have French fries, it means I'm a fraud. No, it's okay, I can go have French fries, like I'm human. And I've never portrayed the idea of being anything else. And
yeah.
And that idea of sharing is so important to me because a lot of the information that I have now took me years to get, or took me a lot of research to find, and it wasn't easily attainable information for me. So I want to make sure it's easily attainable information for other people that are looking for it, because it took me years to discover and find some of the things that I do now.
I think that's so great. I think you're such a rock star. Okay, so I have another official industry question for you.
Yes.
Okay. This comes from the podcast, How I Built This. It's Casey's favorite podcast. So you probably know this question. So
I do.
For your success, Liana Blackburn, for your success, what % do you feel is based on luck and what % do you feel is based on skill?
So I am a huge fan of the How I Built This podcast. And honestly, every time I hear someone else answer this question, I'm like, oh, this is such a tough one, because something about the word luck um, can rub me in a certain way. Like how everybody defines the word luck, I think, is really different. So I want to bring that to the foreground, as well as like, how do you define the word luck, and what do you think means luck? Because I think a lot of people think luck means it's not, you're just in the right place at the right time and you didn't really have anything to do with it. But I believe that luck is actually something you have to be open to as well. So you actually have to be conscious of being, of finding the luck, of being in the luck. And I think we all have the ability to do that and be open to that. And it's also how we see things. And like you said earlier, are you available to it? Are you available to these options that are showing up for you? And I do think that there is a strong combination in life always of both things, of being open, available to be able to see and recognize the opportunities, the luck, the timing, the things, and then also knowing how to, circumstance by circumstance, use the skills you have to navigate through that luck or timing or availability or like moment you're in. So I think it's my life has been a constant intertwining of both things, of knowing how to use my skill and understand how to infiltrate it just right for the moment I'm in, to make the most out of whatever opportunity I'm given at the time.
Absolutely. There's so much to be said about, you know, luck and being in the right place at the right time, and then skill and talent. And obviously you've been training your whole life and you continue to train, you know, you are still taking classes and showing up. And I feel you discussed also that when you're teaching, you are still learning from the other people in the room, which I think is so cool.
So much so. I mean, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about what works and what doesn't work from feedback, from people's just reaction, from their facial expressions, from so much. And even yesterday I taught a live class and I was watching just how other people were teaching and learning, like, how can I teach better? Ooh, I really love that. Or watching how other people picked up my choreography based on how people were picking up someone else's choreography, and learning how I could teach better, how I could make sure my movement felt good on other people. It's like a constant, I'm constantly restructuring what I think I know, and never assuming I know everything. I even do that with my husband. I say to him, like, I don't want you to ever assume that you know me, and I don't want to ever assume that I know you, because we change constantly.
I love that.
And I want to always give both of ourselves permission to keep learning each other. So it's not only about skills, it's about relationships, it's about people, and recognizing that the only thing that we can rely on is change, and being being accepting of that.
That's so cool. Liana, do you have any advice for dancers during this particular time that we're in?
I think right now is a super sensitive time, and I think it's actually the most valuable time I've experienced in as long as I can remember. I never remember a time where I've been gifted isolation. And I want to use the word gift because a lot of people are using the word like, we're stuck at home, we're forced to be this, I am restricted, and using these words that don't really benefit us. But I feel like I've been gifted personal isolation, which has been given me time to really listen to myself, been giving me time to not feel forced to do what I think I'm supposed to do or think what I have to do to get to the next step. I am gifted time to listen to my body and to be open to it looking differently than I thought it would be. So when this first period of quarantine began, I thought that I was going to be checking a million things off the list. I was going to be doing all this productivity that I've been wanting to do for 7 months. And I was like, I'm going to kill this quarantine time. I'm going to kill it. And then I was like sleeping a lot and meditating a lot and journaling a lot and not really ticking off a lot of my other productivity boxes and getting a little judgy toward myself at first, and was like, why am I not doing more of these things? Until I recognized, like, this is the time to reevaluate life, things that are important to you, things that really mean. And I love that we've been forced to only be accessible to essentials. You know, only essential businesses are open. And I know that there's a lot of essential businesses that aren't open right now that I do find to be essential, but it's making me reevaluate the essential things in my life. And I think it's a beautiful time for everybody to tap into that and not only force yourself to take as million free classes as you can if you don't feel like it, and not to judge how you're feeling. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling tired, like, this is the time to acknowledge thoughts and reevaluate, reassess, and to give permission for a change to occur, and welcome it.
I could not agree with you more. I absolutely love your perspective on it. I think it's so great to see this opportunity to reevaluate. I think that's incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. You're such a superstar. We love you here at the Virtual Dance Intensive. Thank you so much. I hope you have such a great day, Liana.
You too. Love to everyone that joined in. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you in the flesh soon, I hope.
Sounds good.
Ooh, my name is Liana Blackburn. Are you ready to work?
Yes!